Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good in communities everywhere. We understand that shopping is a necessity, but with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference without spending any extra money. Here's how it works. Please visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, which are trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any of the partners that resonate with you. Click a picture of the receipt or invoice, then pick the mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send the receipt directly to us. After that, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchases, knowing that you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing the story of those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. And somebody just popped in, which made my life a lot better. So I was just kind of setting things aside to share with you guys just in case things went wrong. Hey, before we go any forward with any of this, I do need to warn you, this is a very, very sensitive subject today. Our guest went through, she's been through a lot. I'm not going to speak for her. She's been through a lot, but and there's my co-host. She hears that I'm talking and she has to be part. It's the Zach and Zephyr show, I guess. So, but anyway, please, if you have young ones around, this might be the time to go on ahead and turn the show off and then come back to it a little bit later. If this is something, this could be a subject that might trigger you. If that does happen, please make sure that you check in with people. We will have numbers and places that you can go. You can always do the 811 number, which is, just a great place to talk to someone. But there's always places that you can go and search for support. But this is something that, look, this is a very sensitive subject, and we're not going to, I don't want this to be a painful thing. I want this to be a place where you can come and be safe. And people like my guest, Anissa Hudak, she lived through this, and she is here to tell you what she's doing to help you live through it. Hello, Anissa. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. This is I saw you get excited when I was talking about that. I take it that that's probably one of the first things that you tell people, right?
Yes. And I was just so happy to hear you put that out there, kind of prepare people because, it is kind of a touchy subject.
Yeah. What Before we get started in this, and before we tell people about the bad things, can you just kind of tell people what can come from this that is good if you find the right places to go? If you find the right treatment, maybe.
Healing, being able to live your life richly, being able to enjoy your life, being able to get back to your life, whatever that looks like now, because it's not going to look the same. However, it can be beautiful and dynamic and rich and wonderful. And it doesn't have to be scarred. You're not broken. And giving up is not an option.
One of the things that perpetrators will do, though, is they will try to make you feel like you're broken, right?
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to keep somebody down. Sure.
Yeah. Well, Anissa, please do me a favor and tell me let's tell people a little bit about what you are doing and why.
Well, boy, that's a big old can of worms.
Right?
So I am a neurosomatic therapist. I've created a company called Phoenix Women. I work with traumatized women. I specialize in sexual trauma. And I help women literally in their pursuit of healing from trauma. And I love what I do. I'm blessed to do what I do. Being able to see someone have a shift, the light bulb goes on, the lights come back on, and people get excited about living again. So amazing. There's not enough money in the world that feeds my soul when I see that. However, you asked, how did I get here? I have the distinction of saying I know PTSD intimately, which is kind of disgusting. Nothing to brag about. I am a daughter of a Vietnam vet. I grew up with PTSD. We didn't know it. I mean, we just, knew that dad was moody, and, Vietnam in our house was a dirty word. I would be better to curse than to say Vietnam. And it's only been in the last 10 years that my dad actually sat down and talked about Vietnam with me, which was, I was floored. And he told me what happened. And I said, well, dear God, man, no wonder. And I will say in the last 10 years, he actually started going to the VA. He started meeting with other non-vets, and he has grown so much as a person in the last 10 years. It's been amazing. And for him to be able to open up and tell me all about that, that's why he was able to do that, was because he's done so much work. So I'm super proud of him. He still has nightmares every night.
Mm-hmm.
He probably will until his last breath, unfortunately. However, he seems to be able to handle the demons a bit better, which is amazing for him. So after growing up with it, what do? I turn around and I marry an active duty military man.
Yeah.
And I start traveling all over, God's green acres with him. He was deployed 3 times. Every time a little less of him came back. And we dealt with that here in our own home. So aside from that, I've also had my own PTSD. I am a 2-time rape thriver. And I've lost a child. My life sounds like a really bad Hallmark movie, except my dog hasn't died and I haven't lost my job. Like, however, I'm still
That's
here.
sad. I'm laughing about that, but the way you put it, I guess
true,
it was kind of funny, So yeah, it's
I don't
worse
mean to
than a
sound
country
flip.
song.
Yeah, exactly, right. Maybe if they play it backwards, I'll get everything right.
There you go. There you go.
I don't mean to sound flip. However, having a sense of humor and laughter is probably the very first line of defense, and such a wonderful way of healing. So I'm not making light of what has happened. I'm just sitting on the other side of it, and I'm okay.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that you've got to be able to take and I'm not going to say laugh about it, because this is nothing to laugh about, but you got to be able to take a look at a situation and learn how to laugh at things that are out there that are funny. Because if you don't look, laughter, it's not a falsity to say that laughter is the best medicine, because laughing is a lot of fun. I'm not a person who has any problem of making fun of myself. Anybody who knows me knows that. I love doing it. It's one of my favorite things. I am a very fun target. I don't take it too seriously, but it's, to me, it's a great time. I'm able to use my motorcycle accident and stuff like that. I'm able to use that as a little bit of a joke, but my PTSD was a hell of a lot different than yours. So, you mentioned, and can you tell us why you call it thriver and not survivor?
Well, I think there's 3 stages. I think that there is the victim stage. And I wholeheartedly believe that you should hit all 3 stages. There's the victim stage. And that's, right after it happens. And sometimes we go into why me? And that's okay. You're allowed to ask that. You're not allowed to stay there, but you're allowed to visit. And then you move on to thriver, where you start to overcome it. You start dealing with it. You start managing it. And then there's thriver. And that's the person who is ready to move on, is moving on, is living their life. I don't think about my rapes every day. I don't think about PTSD every day. Now, that being said, I work with it every day. I see it every day, but I don't think about my own PTSD and what I went through and what have you. I don't think about it on a daily basis. Things that used to trigger me don't trigger me anymore. I'm really blessed. So I'm thriving. I'm living my life. I'm not letting it dictate to me how I'm going to live my life.
What was the first step on moving from victim to survivor?
Deciding I wasn't going to stay there. Truly, deciding I wasn't going to stay there. I wanted help. I wanted to move past it. And, after my first rape, I did what everybody does. I went into talk therapy because that's what you do, right? And here in the West, especially, you have a problem, you go talk about it. And you talk about it. And you talk about it. And you talk some more about it. And I found that every couple of years, I was finding a new therapist because I was, where in the country. And I was going back and talking about it. If you can't tell, I'm from New York originally. And so, but I wasn't getting anywhere. All I was doing was talking. So several years later, I guess about at that point, it was almost 20 years after my first rape. I was in a yoga teacher training course at a yoga training school, and they were running these courses called, it was YogaFit, which is an amazing yoga teacher training school. And they were doing these warrior classes. And I thought, well, I live right outside of Fort Riley, Kansas, a huge retirement community for military, large active duty component, lots of comings and goings, deployments. I should take these courses and bring them back to my community. And I was like halfway through the first day and I was like, oh crap. Like I thought I had a pretty good handle on my PTSD. Yeah, I have no handle on my PTSD. Like the first person I need to work on is sitting right here. Oops. And that's where I learned about how the body traps the trauma in certain muscle groups. And how PTSD, we think of it as a mental health condition. It is not. It starts in the body. It is a reaction that, literally, it's biology. This is high school biology stuff. And they are not teaching this, by the way. No. Very sad. Very, very sad. And if you would indulge me, can I discuss it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, have you ever seen two dogs fighting?
Oh yeah. Okay. I've got 3 large dogs, and they tend to play until they get mad at each other. So.
Okay. So, after they fight and they start to walk away from one another, what do?
Go and lick themselves and lick their wounds and hide a little bit, or one of them hides and the other one comes up for a little bit of I'm sorry, Daddy, I didn't mean to do that. So
have you ever noticed that they shake?
I guess yeah.
So I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but we are animals. And just like animals, we have to reset our central nervous system. And that is exactly what your dogs are doing when they shake. They are resetting their central nervous system. We have the upper echelon brain that handles all of the important stuff, math, logistics, grocery lists. Our emotional regulation is held in this part of the brain, the upper echelon brain. And then you have the reptilian brain. And that is everything to keep you alive that you don't think about. Breathing, blinking, belching, all that kind of stuff. That is where the freeze, fight, fawn mechanism is held. There's 4 of them. I know I forgot one. Freeze, fight, fawn. I forgot. Anyway, so anyhow, we have to reset the central nervous system to take us from the reptilian brain back up to the upper echelon brain. If we do not reset the central nervous system, what happens? PTSD. So after a car accident, if you see someone shaking, if you're at a funeral and you see someone very upset and they're shaking, they are resetting their central nervous system. That shaking mechanism is so incredibly important. What do we do, though, as humans when we see someone shake? Oh, come here. Let me hold you. Let me stop you from shaking. We don't like to see that.
Yeah. That is true.
And even think about it. Gosh, you might even get strapped onto a backboard by an EMT to help, with the shaking. You have to let that body shake. What we're able to do with the yoga therapy is actually get the muscles to shake to help reset the central nervous system. The more and more we do this, the more and more you get to live up in the upper echelon brain as opposed to the reptilian brain. So this is amazing. I had the honor of working with military for many years, loved it, absolutely adored it. However, in my private practice, I was able to work with women who were like me. And being able to do that really fed my soul. However, it came back to, I'm in talk therapy and all I do is talk about it. I'm afraid to talk about it. It scares me. I don't want to deal with the demons because I'm so afraid of it. All I keep doing is talking about it and there's never any closure. And I understood this because I felt the same way. So I started doing some more research and I came across this suite of literally, it's amazing stuff. And that's kind of where the neuro comes in of my neurosomatic therapy. And we're actually able to help women literally tap into the unconscious where the trauma lives in that reptilian brain. We get them to a place where they can process it. And because the emotional regulation is actually in that other part of the brain, these women can process their trauma emotion-free, fear-free, pain-free. They don't have to relive it. They don't have to even talk about it. And yet we are able to help them process it in the unconscious mind and be able to just deal with it and move on. Amazing stuff.
You were talking about the talk therapy. You don't want to talk about it, but you have to talk about it a little bit, don't you? I mean, you can't. What's the difference between not talking about it and holding it in? Do you have to talk about it to release it? I guess is the question I'm asking.
Yes and no.
Okay, good. I'm glad I got a complicated answer with that complicated question.
So I think it's important for everyone's story to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we continue to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, we ingrain that. Literally, neurologically, we ingrain that into our brains. And that's not good. So as talking about your story is one thing, but to a point. And then there's a point where you have to process it and move on. And so it's kind of like this fine line, and if you've spent years in therapy like I have, I had to literally rewire my brain. So yes, it's important to talk about it to an extent, However, to release it, no, you don't have to talk about it to release it.
You've got a couple things. You've got a couple things in your expertise. You've got hypnotherapist, which is really cool. I've got a hypnotherapist in the program that we work with. So I love the fact that you do that. Timeline therapist. Can you tell me what a timeline therapist is?
Well, it's part of the suite of skills that I learned. And everyone has a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're able to do is kind of tap into your timeline, see where it is in your body in relation to your body. Where do you see your own timeline? And then we're able to take you into your timeline, back and forth and what have you. And it's really amazing. We're able to, go back to that place. However, we do so in a way where you are not emotionally there. You are not necessarily associated into it. You are to a point, but not entirely. And you get to reprocess the event. And then we bring you back. It's part of the hypnotherapy. It's all it's all together.
So is it one of those things that with the timeline you help to build a timeline? This is where you are. This is where you want to be. Now let's go back and look, but this isn't where we're going to stay. We're still going to work towards. Is that a simple explanation?
So your timeline can go into the future. Your timeline goes into the past.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to go into the past to revisit a situation, we can do that. If we need to go into the future and visit something that you want to see occur, we can do that. And in fact, we can even place it in there, which is really neat. We can place goals there to help it makes it so insatiable that you have to complete these goals. So fun.
That sounds really interesting. A master NLP results coach. NLP.
Neuro-linguistic programming.
There you go. What is a results coach?
By utilizing certain words and phrasings, we are able to, again, with the timeline therapy, with the hypnotherapy, like all of this is all combined. None of these are really standalone kinds of stuff, except for maybe the hypnotherapy. That could be kind of standalone. By using certain words and phrases in a different way, we're able to literally get your unconscious mind to do things for you. Now, one of the big things about hypnotherapy is that people are like, I don't want to squawk like a chicken every time a bell rings.
That is so funny.
But it's true. That's, people's perception of hypnotherapy is, they're going to squawk like a chicken. They're going to get up on stage on some cruise ship and take off all their clothes, or Scooby-Doo. I mean,
Yep.
That is our whole thought of hypnotherapy, no?
Yeah, I tell Daria every time I talk to her that, you know what, Daria, I would come to you, but you know what kind of a jackass I can be. And I do. I tell her every time. I'm like going, I know that you and my wife are going to talk and she's going to have a key word. And all of a sudden I'm going to end up cleaning the house or something like that.
Right.
And so,
everyone.
And it's always going to be during a hockey game. I know it's going to be during a hockey game.
Of course. I would totally put that in. No. So here's the things about hypnotherapy that people don't really understand. Number one, you are in total control.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want something to occur, it's not going to occur. I can't hypnotize you to go rob a bank. Unless you're a bank robber and you like to do that. Then it's, you do that. However, if you're the kind of person who doesn't rob banks, Well, then I'm not going to be able to make you do that. So you have the ultimate control. Working with me takes a lot of time. And I say a lot of time, several hours in which we really get down to the nitty gritty of what you want. And the things that you want, I'm able to help you go in and put into your unconscious so you can reach those goals. All goals come from the unconscious. They don't come from your conscious mind. Everybody likes to think that the conscious mind rules. It doesn't. Everything comes from the unconscious. And so we're able to utilize hypnotherapy to help you reach your goals that you want. I don't put anything in there you don't want. But we take a lot of time to ensure I know exactly what you want and how you want to accomplish it. Then it's just easy. So that's the thing about the NLP. The NLP, we phrase these things in certain ways so your unconscious gets it and is able to utilize it.
And that goes into the practitioner as well,
Yeah.
the NLP practitioner. You are also a certified yoga therapist. What is the difference between a yoga therapist and a yoga coach?
Oh, I love this question. Oh. So if you think about yoga as a big old pie, and we split it down the middle, we have one side fitness-based yoga, and we have some really talented people who are incredibly gifted and teach wonderful fitness-based yoga. Ashtanga, Bikram, aerial yoga, co-ed naked yoga, you name it. However, on the other side, we have yoga therapy. And yoga therapy, we kind of specialize. My specialty is PTSD and TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. Other folks, cancer rehab, cardiac rehab, arthritis, MS, you name it. And so we're really specialized in just helping our people in that niche be able to attain their goals. So my classes are very different than a standard fitness-based yoga class. You're not going to get this at your corner yoga studio. My classes are very different. In the yoga world, if you will, like a 200 or 300 level is like having a bachelor's. A 500 level is like having a master's, and having being a yoga therapist, it's well over 1,000 hours. And it's like having a PhD. So that's kind of the difference between the two realms. It's all good. There's never bad yoga. However, the folks on the fitness side may not have enough education, by no fault of their own, to help you gain your whatever your goals are if you fit into a different niche.
I got to disagree with you. I've seen some of those poses. If I'm doing some of that yoga, I'm broken. Okay, I can't do a lot of those poses. And if I'm in that position, that means I'm stuck or I'm broken. But and if I thought of yoga as a pie, I'd probably do it a lot more. So that's the fat guy talking. But with yoga, do you focus more on the flexibility or more on the mind?
Yes.
Okay.
So in what I do, there's a lot of psychology, more so than just the asana, the poses. You were going to get a full body workout. We are working certain muscle groups to exhaustion, so they start to shake. You've been to the gym, I'm sure, and you've had leg day and your legs are like jelly. Yep. Okay. We want to accomplish that jelly-like feeling. So they're actually vibrating, they're shaking. And by doing that, when we get those muscles to that point, they are helping to reset your central nervous system. Cool. However, there's other things that are going on. Folks with PTSD, they really don't like it, if most people anyway, If you're walking around the room and you walk behind them and they don't know where you're going and you're behind them, you make them feel kind of awkward. I never leave my mat. Never. And if I have to leave my mat, I announce that I'm leaving my mat. I tell them exactly where I'm going. And I go there and only there because they need to know exactly and have no surprises. The lights always remain on. When you go into final relaxation, which we call Shavasana, most classes you lay on your back, you're kind of spread eagle, palms are facing up, you close your eyes. Not in my class, because folks with PTSD, that could be really upsetting to them, really unnerving. You can lay on your stomach, you can lay on your side, you can have a blanket, you can have a pillow, you want an eye pillow for your eyes, you can or you don't. And we all know that when things are silent, that's where the scary shit lives. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
All throughout my class, I talk. It is very interactive. It's kind of like the Anissa stand-up hour. Generally, we talk about like current events and food. Lots and lots of food. I'm a foodie. During Shavasana, again, which is usually a very silent time, I read. I have a book of yoga poetry. I've got a book of essential oils for emotions. And I spend that time reading. So again, your mind has something to occupy it and you're not going down the rabbit hole. There are some other things that I do in the class, not to take up all the time on that, but these things, one of the key things is phrasing though, how I phrase the cueing. It is never, okay, now into down dog. It is, when you're ready, come join me in down dog. One, people might be really enjoying the pose that they're in and they're not ready to leave it. Two, folks who have had PTSD or struggling with it, our power, our self-agency, our control has been taken away from us. I want to give that power back to these folks. And so when they decide they're ready to join me in the next pose, they know what it is. When you're ready, come join me. I'm giving them the option. I'm giving them their power back. So a lot of psychology along with having a full body workout.
I really was expecting that answer, both, but I wanted to make sure of that. I hate, the whole saying about assuming something, but it yoga, I know, is one of those that, look, you really got to work your mind to work your body. And all exercising really should be that. You should be able to work your mind while you're working your body. It shouldn't just be a one-sided thing. And, sometimes I think that some people just concentrate too much on working the one thing. But when you talk phrasing, is phrasing the way that we talk about things? And I ask this because I was talking to somebody the other day and on the show, and I brought up the fact that I quit smoking because I said I'm done smoking. I didn't say I think I'm going to quit smoking. It was I'm done smoking. I'm finished. I'm not smoking anymore. It's not I think I'm going to. Because in my mind, I see I think I'm going to as giving yourself an out. Well, I thought I could do it, but I couldn't do it. I think I'm going to quit drinking. Well, that gives myself an out because I wasn't for sure if I was going to do it. I was just thinking about it. Does that have anything to do with the phrasing that you're talking about? Positive, strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If somebody says, I'm going to try, I automatically know that it's not going to happen.
Try is the biggest problem I have. I still catch myself saying, I'm going to try, and I'll stop myself in the middle and say, I'm going to do. But try is the hardest word I've struggled with try.
I will tell you the greatest teacher of NLP and phrasing is Yoda.
Yeah, you told me this. I like
Try
that.
not, do not try. The unconscious doesn't like negative words. Don't, not, can't. And so you'll hear me say, I care not. Because anything that comes right directly after that negative, the mind puts away. So if I say, I don't care, the care goes away. So I care not. Yes, Yoda is the king of NLP, I think.
That is so awesome. Reiki master, can you explain? And I know I mispronounced the word. My wife is a Reiki master, and she gets mad at me because I mispronounced the word. But
it's okay. It's all good. Reiki. So you were close. You were really close, actually. It is a Japanese healing touch therapy. It is phenomenal. It is so yummy. I think that if you're really early in your journey of healing, Reiki is incredibly powerful. It helps to bring your body down to a level where it can do a lot of self-healing, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally. I will tell you that the vets that I worked with on post here at Fort Riley, they loved it. It's really wonderful. And if you ever get the chance to experience it, it's just phenomenal.
This one could be a little difficult in somebody who is in your situation, though, is it not? If somebody is coming out of the trauma of a sexual assault, this would be one that probably wouldn't be the top one in their recovery, or surprisingly, would they be open to it?
It depends on the person. Also, what's really important is that, Reiki can look like a lot of different things. As long as you have a heartbeat, you can do it. You can have it done. So in a hospital bed, in a wheelchair, I've done it to, folks in recliners. You could put a blanket on. You don't necessarily have to touch the person. The person can be completely awake during that time. Their eyes are open. I've had sessions where the folks talk to me the entire time. That's part of releasing. It looks like something different for every person. It doesn't have to look like any specific thing. Whatever you need it to be, it is. And so as long as you have someone who is open to kind of going with the flow and letting it be yours, I don't think that there's a problem with it. It really depends on what your needs are. Are you ready to spend that kind of time with someone?
What about do you and you just mentioned that you do stuff where it's not touching them, so do you do energy work? Do you do any of that?
That's exactly what Reiki is.
Okay, it is. All right.
Yeah.
So and can you explain to people what exactly energy work is? Because this is where, a lot of people are going to sit there and go, ooh, voodoo.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. It's a national area. This is older than the doctors that we go to every day. This is a treatment that's been around for a day or two, right?
Well, I hate to once again break it to folks. However, we are energetic beings. What
Yep.
happens when your heart stops? What do? They shock it back into rhythm with electricity. We are energetic beings. You know, our being doesn't stop at the skin. We have this whole other part of us. How many times have you heard somebody say, gosh, they got into my personal space?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's your energy space.
That's one problem I have with not having the right ear, and is if I'm in a place where people are like really, really close to me and only having like the one ear to hear everything, I literally hear everything. I can hear people breathing, chewing, whatever they're doing. And I'm like, get away from me. And I get very, very nervous with all of that.
And that's okay. That's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely okay. Yeah.
It
However,
is for me. They don't like it too much.
but that's your personal space. And you
Mhm.
know, it goes beyond you. Probably a good foot, if not more. Some people have more, some people have less. I don't think it has anything to do with how big of a person you are. I think it's just who you are. And yeah, so we're working in that area when we're utilizing Reiki.
Okay. Okay. And your talking topics, these are counseling sessions.
My talking topics?
Yeah. These are like counseling sessions, or is that what
Oh,
we're talking here? Because you got like hypnotherapy, the NLP mindset, for PTSD and trauma, yoga therapy, yoga, PTSD,
those are things
and
that I talk
trauma.
about on podcasts. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and
We've had a lot of
one,
those today.
yeah, and we did touch a little bit on grief. I did want to, uh, I was, we talk a lot about what we can do for people who are contemplating suicide in this show. That's the whole reason it was created. And I know that people who suffer domestic violence and sexual assault, unfortunately, the women who suffer um, violence in this manner, they are 3 times as likely to unfortunately end their life. Anissa, what do they need to do to what's the first thing that they need to do if they start feeling like that's the way to go? I mean, and I know that's a difficult situation because you don't know who they are, but what if this is something that they just feel like they can't handle anymore? What would you tell somebody to do? Other than hold on, what would you tell them to do to move forward?
Well, first off, you're not alone.
Yeah.
That's number one. And I know how lonely it does feel because I've been there. So I understand how lonely and isolating it is. One of the things that your abuser wants to do is isolate you. So you're probably feeling incredibly isolated and lonely, and that there is no other option. You might feel like you have exhausted all options. So number one, you're not alone.
It's not your fault.
Oh, well, obviously, yeah. Obviously, yeah. It is so not your fault. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't do anything to deserve any of this. None of this is your fault. I'm sure of it. There are still ways to get out. There are still ways to get away. I always say, get to the police however you can. They're going to go the route where you have to have, a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is only going to protect you so much. However, doing it through the right channels means that when it gets really down and dirty, you still took the high road and did things the right way. You need to do whatever you can to protect yourself, protect your family, your children if you have. If it's only you, get the hell out. Do whatever you can. But this is not the end all. This is not how the rest of your life is going to be. It doesn't have to. And you can choose something else. And if you're choosing something else, then you have to take action. Whether it's a phone call, getting out, whatever it is.
And once again, we have been flashing throughout the show the National Sex Abuse Hotline. Please, 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 if you've experienced, consider calling before making any other action. This is something I definitely don't like doing towards the end of the show, but this is something we definitely need to do. It's time to raise the ire of some people. You are trying to make a difference because rape kits there's a ridiculous thing that's going on with rape kits. Can you tell people what that is and tell people what we can do to change it?
So if you were raped and you go to the hospital, you have something done called a rape kit. Sometimes some hospitals have these very incredible women who will do it for other women. They are generally nurses. They are specifically trained to do this. Sometimes if you're in a more rural community, you won't have somebody specifically trained, unfortunately. However, the kit is the kit. And it does all different types of things to kind of comprise all of this evidence, if you will. And I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it. However, it is a way of collecting evidence. These kits are then supposed to be processed by forensic labs, just like a murder kit, evidence for murders would be. However, the rape kits don't get as much attention given to them as, say, a murder. They're kind of second or third rung on the list. And so some kits are sitting on shelves for up to and over 5 years. Now, during that time, the perpetrator is out walking around. The victim, survivor, hopefully thriver, has no closure. And the DNA kit is sitting on a shelf degrading. I think that we should have a lab in each and every country, state and country for that matter, specifically designed, so each and every state of the union, just to do rape kits. Let's take the workload off of homicides and other things like that, because they're important. I'm not saying they're not. However, let's let them have, that workload, and let's take all of the rape kits, put it through one particular lab, and that way we take the workload off of them, and they're given the attention in a timely manner. So I think that that's what we need to do. I think there should be a lab in every single state.
I absolutely agree with you. And that is something that, When you were telling me this, I had to kind of bite the inside of my cheek. I couldn't believe that. These, not only is that perpetrator out there walking around, this perpetrator's got the thought in mind, hey, I got away with this. I can do it again.
And
You
again,
know,
and
and
again,
again and again.
and
And you know
again.
what? Maybe it ends up in one of those murders or something. You just never know. People who don't get caught, they'll push the boundaries. That's what they're going to do. So that is such a horrible fact, and it really bugs me that is like that. Did you have a question, or do you just want to be seen?
I think it
Yeah,
irritates her too.
yeah. So, yeah, she I don't know. She kind of looks like she has something to say. But if she does, I don't think it's easy to understand. Um, uh, I will be honest with you. This is such a uh, fantastic interview. I love listening to what you've got to say. Would you come back and join us some other time?
Oh, absolutely. I have enjoyed myself tremendously. Thank you so very, very much.
Well, I'm really glad. Anissa, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, I'm kind of like a bad penny. I just show up all over social media. You can find me at Phoenix Women Healing. I'm on LinkedIn. Um, so yeah, I'm all over the place. Phoenix Women Healing, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
You got your email, which is a Hudak at phoenixwomenhealing.com.
That's
And then
me.
also it's the phone number is 845-591-1601. 845-591-1601. When my son was going to Washburn, I used to ride right through where you're living quite often. So,
I'm so
you know,
sorry.
you know what? I loved it because I grew up in Garden City, Kansas. I grew up in Southwest Kansas. So
Okay.
seeing that there was something in Kansas that wasn't flat and wasn't just tumbleweeds and grossness, it was kind of neat to see. So you get to Eastern Kansas, and it gets cooler. I mean, it's not as plain. Plus, you got Dorothy's house, right up there.
Oh yeah, and Wamego. Yeah. I
Yeah, yep.
mean, there's a Wizard of Oz museum and all that. So for your folks, I am in Manhattan, Kansas, and just to make things even more complicated, my business is Phoenix Women. Now, I meant like Phoenix the bird, not Phoenix the
Hmm.
place. However, I live in Manhattan, Kansas. My cell phone number, which you just read off, is from New York. And so I'm originally from New York. So yeah, and I left the Big Apple for the Little Apple. I know. So just so you know, it's a little confusing there, but being a military spouse, that's what happens.
And yes, they do really call it the Little Apple there.
They
Yeah,
really do.
they really do. So I went there because it was a big journalism school. So yeah, that's
Oh, you
that's
went to
kind of
K
cool.
State.
No, I didn't go. I went there because I was on the school newspaper and I went in for a tour. But then I
Oh,
decided that
cool.
I wasn't going to waste my time in college. What do I need college for? Oh,
Well,
so
it's not for
hey,
everybody.
we all grow up, and some of us it just took until our mid 40s, but still. So
That's all good.
yeah. Hey, I am where I am because of the road I took. So, and you learn, you live and love, and you get through what you've got. So with what you got, you can create a different outlook. You just got to work at it. So
And you can become a thriver.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, Anissa, I greatly appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to tell people before I let you go?
Just that, again, giving up is not an option. You know, you have all my contact information. You have any questions, please reach out to me. I would love to hear from anybody who has any issues. Again, I work with women who have been traumatized. I specialize in sexual trauma, but that doesn't mean it's not, any trauma, unfortunately, I deal with. And I look forward to coming back, seeing you again.
Well, you know what? Anytime that you have anything going on, please come back and join us and let us know. And that way, hopefully, we can get some more people to join any events or any conferences you have.
Cool. That would be great. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. So if you want to sit in the green room for a second, we can talk real quick after we're done. But I'm going to end the show here in a second. And but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Just on a personal note here, I've got to say a huge congratulations on Saturday night. Something very, very cool. Actually, it happened Saturday night into Sunday morning. My son is in Japan. My son teaches English to children in Japan. He's also a professional wrestler. Okay. Kind of a weird mix, I understand, but that's my handsome young man there. He won his first ever championship. He won the WUW Eurasian Championship. So yes, I'm doing the proud father thing. We actually got to sit up and watch it. It began at 1:00 in the morning, and his match didn't come on until 3. So there were a bunch of tired people watching, but I'll tell you this, as soon as that match was over, I couldn't go to sleep again. I was so excited, but free from Dad, I'm so proud of you. Not just for the rest, you doing the teaching and you living out your dreams, son, that makes this so cool to me. You were a kid that you went through a lot of stuff when you were younger. I wasn't the greatest person. I wasn't the greatest father. Okay. I drank a lot and I did a lot of things. But the one thing I always told you was you need to live your dream. You need to work at it and you need to do it. And by God, as much as I hated Pokemon when you were a kid, it led you to where you're at now. You found that passion. You found that love. You took your English degree that you got from Washburn and you followed it to the place that you wanted to be, which is Japan. And now you're living out a dream, and I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Congratulations on your first championship. Now you're done playing. Get home. I'm joking. I know you're not coming home. But hey, everybody, my name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. Please, please remember to love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Make sure that no one has to go it alone because they don't have to if we all come together. I will be back next week with another guest. I'm trying to decide on 1 or 2 shows, but we will be back next week with a new guest. I want to thank you very much. Stay tuned because we're going to replay the show from Friday, introducing one of our brand new sponsors and also talking to Stephanie from the Aziza Project with her campaign with Pampered Chef. Aziza Project helps women with gynecological issues. It's a very, very cool program because it's a very, it's a very sensitive and often mistaken thing that women have to go through. Women get told for a long time There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your mind. There's nothing, we can't find what's wrong. I say it in the show. I say it in the recording. Women, that's bullshit. You know your body. You know what's wrong. Fight for yourself. Call Stephanie with the Aziza Project. She can hopefully help you find a doctor that's going to take the time and find out what's going on. But I do want to thank you all so very much for joining us. I want to thank Anissa for joining us, and I hope that we get to talk to her soon. Please, again, if anything triggered you today, 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. That is the National Sexual Abuse Hotline. Call them before you contemplate doing anything to your life, because you know what? No matter how softly you walk, you always leave footprints. If you're gone, people are going to miss you. We will see you next week. Take care of yourself, okay? Take care of each other, because we're all we got.